Hello everybody, welcome back to Retro Computing Ranch. So last week we were working on getting some MFM hard drives working with our AT&T 3B2 and that was a success. Oh, yeah, we're formatting! So let's move on to getting the AT&T 3B2 to do something. By the way, I wanted to add, stick around till the end of the video. We've got some important news coming for Retro Computing Ranch, and I want to go through it at the end of the video. Alright, so we could easily write a C program to accomplish something, and we've done that before. I haven't shown the actual process of writing the program, but I've demoed some programs that I've written. But what I want to do today is demo an assembly language program, since we recently did the same on the Motorola Chiron system. But this is different. We're not going to do it from the ROM monitor. We're going to actually do it through Unix. So, the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we are in the correct directory. And we're in my user directory. Now, if you notice by the prompt, I am with escalated privileges. It's not best practice, but it's fine for here. So what I want to do is create a new file that's going to hold our program code. And we're going to do that with the touch utility. And I'm going to call our file test.s. And we can do another directory listing here. There is our file. Now I want to edit this file in VI, but I don't have things 100% set up here. I don't have a terminal defined. And so if I was to try to load VI, it would throw us an error and drop us into a single line mode. And that's not what I want. So there's a quick couple of things we can do to get around that. I'm going to define term equal to VT100. I'm using TeraTerm here, and it's set up as a VT100. Alright, so now I need to export term. And so now our shell knows that term equals VT100. So if I do a VI and test.s, there we go. Now we are loaded up in VI and we can edit our file. Now of course VI is not great. It's obscure in the way it does things, to say the least, but we can get through this process. Not as easily as if we were using like Nano on a Linux system, but we'll still get there. So I'm going to hit I so that we're in insert mode, and then we have to enter a few things to make sure the assembler understands what we're up to. So the first thing we're going to do is hit tab, and then I'm going to enter .version, and then another tab, and then we're specifying that it is 02.01. Now what this is doing is telling the assembler that our file format version follows the 02.01 standard. It just helps the assembler be able to process the file correctly. Now I'm not going to tell you every time I do a tab, we're just going to do them silently. The next one is .text, and what that tells the assembler is everything after this in the program code is text or actual program code. So next we're going to do .align 4, and this is a peculiarity of the Belmec 32 in that code will not execute properly unless it's on a 4-byte boundary. So what it's saying is every program code after this has to start on a 4-byte boundary. And then finally, I'm going to do a globl, global, and main. Our main subroutine is going to be called main. And what this is telling the assembler is start with main. That's where our program code is at. And so now on our next line, without tabbing over, I'm going to enter main, and a colon. And then this is where we start our actual program code. So the first thing that we have to do in Belmac 32 assembly language is we have to save our stack frame. This will be returned to the caller, the operating system, when the program finishes. It's not always critical, but it's always boilerplate. So I'm going to do a save &0. Basically what that's saying is we're saving the stack frame, but there's nothing to save. So like I said, it's just boilerplate. Now here's where we actually get to the meat and potatoes of the program. So I'm going to be using the Unix write function to basically send some text to the standard out, the terminal. And we have to push some arguments onto the stack frame first. And the stack frame is basically, you can put multiple pieces of information on it and it builds up in layers, and then when you start to take it back off or pop it out, you have to start at the top layer. And so we have to enter things in the reverse order, which is fine. You just have to know that you're doing that. So I'm doing a push W &1. That's telling the assembler, send the output to the standard output, the terminal screen. Now we're going to do a push W &, dot payload. We're telling it to look at basically a set of data in memory that's referenced by the name payload. And the dot before it says, basically after this is going to be that name. So now we do a push W &10. There are 10 bytes in our payload, and we have to pass that along to the write command as an argument. So now we're actually going to call the write function. And we're doing that with an &3, comma, write. What we're saying here is we're calling the write function, we're passing 3 arguments. That is from the stack frame. Alright, and so now that will actually do all the work of the program. But there's a few things we need to do to clean the situation up. We have to return to caller, the operating system. So we're going to do a ret and an &0, basically saying return to the operating system, we have nothing to pass. And then we have to do a dot data. So what we're saying is everything after this point is no longer program code, it's actually just data for the program, variables and such. Alright, so now we need to actually define the data, the payload, that we're going to have the program display. So I'm going to do a dot payload followed by a colon, and then I'm going to, on the next line, tell it we're entering it as bytes that are comma separated, and our actual payload, instead of being letters, we're passing the ASCII value, and the assembly toolchain will handle that correctly when it comes time. So the payload is 72, comma, 69, comma, 76, comma, 76, comma, 79, comma, 82, comma, 76, comma, 68, comma, 33, comma, 10. And we don't have to enter a comma, we're at the end of the list. We can actually just save the program here. We're going to hit escape to get back into command mode. We're going to hit a colon so that we can pass a command to the program. And we're going to tell it WQ, or write quit. And it says that we saved our program. Now, to make sure, we can cat that file. Basically, get Unix to read the contents of the file out to the terminal. With a cat test.s, and we can see that everything is there. Now, we need to basically compile this, link it, load it, all that stuff, and we can use the standard C compiler of the system to handle all that for us with a simple command. CC, and you'll notice it's CC, not GCC. This is pre-ANSI, so this is KNRC. CC-O space, and then our name of our program. We're going to call it test, and we want our input file, which is test.s. Now, if you're familiar with Linux systems, you kind of know what this is going to do. On Unix, it's pretty much the same way. When I hit enter, it's going to compile the program. If there's an error, it'll tell us. If there's no error, it's pretty much just going to return us back to the command prompt. Now, we do have a slow processor, so even a program that's short does take some time to compile. Should be finishing momentarily. There we go. So now we need to run our program. And the way that we do that, if it's not in the path, which we're not in the path right now, is with a ./test. There we go. We've got our hello world. There's our little tribute to Usagi Electric. And so next, let's move on to what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the video. So our program executed successfully, and what I want to do now, before we, or while we're talking about everything else, is I want to go ahead and shut the system down, since it's a little bit noisy while we're talking. And the way that I'm going to do that is by changing directory to the root, and then issuing an init 0 to put us in run level 0, which is system halt. And it should tell us momentarily. There we go. So init is switching to run level 0. So, if you've been watching the channel for a while, then you know that we're space limited here. I started out in the living room of our park model trailer next door. I moved into my 10 by 10 office, which is very cramped. And eventually I moved here into our camper that we had before we moved in our park model trailer. Our original plan was to build a house on this site. But we ended up basically purchasing the property next door through a convoluted process that I'm not going to get into. But that property has a couple of houses and some other structures on it that I'm going to be able to make use of. And so, Retro Computing Ranch is moving. Don't worry, we're not moving to a different channel. We're just moving basically to another part of the property. So, looking forward, I can tell you it's probably going to be the system finally shut down. That's the drive spinning down. It's probably going to take me 6 to 12 months to get things in order over there and finish building out the studio that I want to build, which is also going to be my workshop and my radio room and various other things. But we're starting the process. So for the new subscribers that have come over from Usagi Electric's channel, thank you, first of all. For those of you that are watching that are not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe now so that you get updates and information on when I post new videos, and you can follow along on the process of getting everything moved over and getting into our new studio. And once we're in there, we'll be able to document a lot more, film a lot more, and run projects concurrently without having to basically tear everything down every week. With that being said, I want to thank you for being here, for watching the video until the end, and that pretty much covers it. So stick around, and we'll see you next time. Have a good one.